All right, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the May 4th JPS committee meeting, DuPage County Board, to order. Looks like we do have a physical quorum present today. So I will entertain a motion to permit members to participate by video teleconference. Do I have a motion? Okay, motion second. We'll do a roll call vote. I'm sorry, who moved? I'm sorry, who moved? Moving Ozog, second Garcia.
Member Ozog? Yes. Member Pachalski? Yes. Member Schwarzy?
Yes.
Member Selman? Member Zay? Aye. Chair Renahan?
Aye.
Member Champlin? Aye. Member Covert? Member Desart?
Aye.
Member Eckhoff? Member Garcia? Aye. Member Krajewski?
Aye.
All right, thank you. So that passes. We will not need to do roll call votes going forward. So do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
All right, thank you. So I just like to move on with some chairman's remarks here. We continue to study the Safety Act requirements. Research is ongoing with staff as to how counties will implement it. And as much as we might want to rush to an answer and add possibly needed headcount and cost, I can tell you DuPage County is ahead of other counties in its analysis. Staff has recommended holding off, as we remember from our last meeting, on adding headcount until budget discussions for FY 2022. At my direction and Finance Chair Chaplin's direction, our CFO will be preparing a memo for the committee that will further consider funding levels and sources for implementation, including the $21 million that the board unanimously voted last year to sweep to public safety. I am concerned. I've heard false information circulating on whether the county supports law enforcement and public safety. So I would like to recap for the committee the profound support this board has given to law enforcement and public safety, the primary place that public safety holds, as is proven out by our budgeting priorities. The information and facts that I'm about to share can be verified at dupageco.org website under budget documents. As I just said, last year the board voted unanimously to sweep unused COVID federal relief, specifically to public safety, for an additional $21 million. By far, the JPS committee holds the largest budget of any committee. 21% of the budget reports to JPS, and that's about $98.4 million. Last year, the FY 2021 approved budget had an increase of 6.4% from the previous year for public safety, for a total budget of $52,275,014. We also increased the judicial budget 1.5% to around $46.1 million. Also, to recap for the committee, the sheriff has a budget of $47.8 million for FY 2021. He has the highest headcount of any department at around 500 people. In addition to the county budget, municipalities support police forces, some of which also received CARES money from this board last year. Recently, the board also voted unanimously to provide body cams, tasers, and software to the sheriff outside of the budget from reserves. The cost was $2.5 million. Lastly, the board has provided additional funding to the sheriff when requested to help with compression costs. So I think we can see we've done a very good job with county board members supporting law enforcement, and it is such a privilege to support law enforcement and safety to this degree. And it really is in the best interest of residents and our duty as public servants to correct any misinformation that would compromise the public trust. So I think, I hope we will keep that in mind going forward. And with that, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of the April 20th.
So moved.
Any additions, corrections? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those will be approved. I'll take a motion to approve budget transfer 2021-404. This is for the law library, $303. Questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. And opposed? That passes. We have budget transfers for the sheriff's office, $427,163. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are passed as well. I'll take a motion to approve JPSP 10321, approval of renewal contract purchase for HOV services with the circuit court clerk not to exceed $700,699.37, June 1, 2021 to May 30, 2022. Questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that is passed. I'll take a motion to receive and place on file informational items 8A through D. Questions, comments on these items? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, these will be received and placed on file, and with that, we are on to old business. The old business. Member Eckhoff.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just wanted to take a little bit of an exception to what you said during your opening comments, and I don't mean to be rude and put anybody in a bad situation, but I said on at least 3 occasions on this floor that when you voted able resolution to tell the governor to veto the crime bill in Springfield, that was a vote against law enforcement and public safety. And I'm sorry that I have to continue to repeat that, but there seems to be an ongoing debate back and forth, and everyone can draw their own conclusions and state their own facts as to what they are and what they support. But I just want to, every time it comes up, I'm going to remind people who took that vote, voted to table, that I think that was a vote against law enforcement and public safety. So,
Great, thank you, Member Eckhoff. Did I see Member Chaplin's hand?
Thank you, Chair Renahan. And I just wanted to piggyback off of what you said. And I know last week that during old business at County Board, it was implied that we don't support law enforcement. But questioning the sheriff and requesting more information before increasing headcount or any other matter that comes before this board does in no way diminish the importance of law enforcement. We have an obligation to the taxpayers of DuPage County to be mindful of the money we spend. Asking questions and requiring additional information should never be interpreted as not supporting law enforcement. We have to balance the wants and needs of law enforcement with the requirements of our budget. And I think we will continue to do so. And like you said, it's a privilege here to support law enforcement, and in no way questioning and asking questions does not diminish, like I said, the importance of law enforcement.
Member Chaplin, I see Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Just regarding your opening statement, you said it a couple of times that we swept 21 million into public safety. I think what we did is we submitted $21 million of expenses from public safety, as we submitted other COVID eligible expenses from the health department and other various departments. As a result of submitting those expenses that were COVID eligible, we had a $21 million surplus last year in our budget, which now is in our reserves. And I believe those reserves can be used for whatever purpose this board decides. So I'm not sure we swept 21 million into public safety, as it appears. It sounds like you're saying we got 21 million we're used on public safety. We submitted 21 million of expenses in addition to the other ones we had submitted during the year of public safety expenses as COVID eligible. And that caused us to have a surplus of 21 million, which is now in our reserves. So I just want to be clear. I'm not sure we unanimously swept this thing into public safety as you imply that we're going to be using it for public safety. We haven't determined what we're going to use our reserves for.
But as I said, we had asked the CFO to prepare a memo to that effect. And you know what, in fact, I think Jeff Martinowitz, can you approach and
good morning. Actually, I think we're saying the same thing. The bottom line is that there is an additional $21 million in the general fund that went to fund balance, and then it increased our reserves there to almost $100 million. We did recapture public safety expenses, and the use of sweep is basically a transfer from the CRF fund to the general fund to recapture those dollars. So again, the bottom line is we have an additional $21 million in fiscal 20 to be used as the board sees fit. And that increased our reserve or fund balance up to almost $100 million in the general fund.
Yeah, Jeff, how much money did we transfer, or is COVID eligible for the whole year of county expenses? Did we use 50 million, 70 million, 80 million? Between the health department, between the public works department, all the different departments, how much county money projects that we did?
For the CARES fund, we did about $140 million in additional appropriations to many agencies.
No, I mean, how much to DuPage County ourselves?
Well, we were able to capture $44 million from public safety expenses. But then we had additional
How
expenses.
about like the Convo Center and the health department?
I don't have the detail in front of me, but we were actually able to use that money too to fund those services.
So basically, I mean, we took 75, 80, $90 million we used, and of all those expenses from the campus that we used, we ended up at the end of the year with 21 million left.
Right, the net amount, correct.
Right, the net amount, which is in our reserve. So, we could say it's Convo money, it's the health department money, it's the sheriff's money, whatever. All the money we submitted from the CARES funds from our campus throughout the year, we came up with 21 million extra in our budget that's now in our general fund.
We've asked for a memo, and so I think this is probably best kept for maybe our next meeting. I don't want to put you on the spot here, Jeff. I know we had a nice meeting yesterday, but it was swept under the name of public safety originally.
Right. And the chairwoman is correct. Let me put together a memo. I think that's good for the entire board to look at. Now that the CARES fund is exhausted, if you will, we can go back and recap and look at where all the funds went.
Thank you, Jeff. Member Ozog?
I'd just like to reference Member Eckhoff's comment a few minutes ago. I'd like to point out that earlier this week, I noticed on social media that Sheriff Mendrick had said that 3 times we were asked to weigh in on this bill, then it was passed, and now I'm left to deal with it, I believe was the quote. And I'd like to first of all point out that the bill was passed first. We were asked to weigh in on it, and since we did not have any part in the legislation of this bill, we chose not to. I do not believe, and this is again, we need to clarify that this is Mr. Eckhoff's opinion, but I do not believe refusing to weigh in on the governor's decision whether to sign the bill or not, a bill that was already passed in both houses, was certainly not a declaration of not supporting our law enforcement, and our actions certainly have spoken toward our support. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Member Ozog. Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for bringing this up. And it kind of sounds like that some of the members are taking credit. And we talked about the sweep and the budget, and I know I moved on the floor to give the sheriff and the state's attorney an additional $1 million in this year's budget, but that was done by the past board, not by this board, by the board when Republicans controlled it. So by saying that we support this is a past board that passed this in November of last year before the new board took over. So by saying that, I mean, I think sounds like you're trying to take credit of something that worked that the past boards have done. When we talked about the sweep and everything else, you asked the poor CFO to come up, and then you told him, well, we needed in a memo, so he couldn't really explain it. So that's fine. But again, this was all done. The sweep, the budget, the funding, additional funding was done by the past board. So this is a new board. We shouldn't look to the past. We should look to what the new board is doing, the new majority is doing.
Okay, yeah, thank you. I was part of that old board, and I think most of us in this room were part of that past board, and it did pass unanimously. So I appreciate your point of view. I personally do. I think that's really splitting hairs. Member Eckhoff.
I just wanted to correct what Member Ozak said. The first 2 times we voted to table the resolution, the governor had not signed the bill. The third time when we were going to vote condemning the his signature or whatever he had signed the bill, so. He had an opportunity to weigh in on it before he signed.
Okay, thank you for renewing your concern here. I see no more hands up for old business. How about new business? Do you have any new business? Anyone online? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn. All right, I guess all in favor.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you.